Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I'm a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. The journey continues today on February 28th, 2024 at approximately 4:26 p.m. PST. Now, I've returned to this world for one primary purpose, and that is to remind people that working together, we can make this a better world for virtually everybody. I bill myself as a spiritual guide because the tools I offer are the same tools I personally use in my day-to-day life. And the philosophies of life I talk about are literally the same philosophies that I personally guide virtually every movement I make by. With this in mind, I know that these tools will work for you because they continue to work for me and have worked for literally thousands of other people with varying degrees of success, based literally on their own personal efforts. Now, before I get into it today, we are going to start off by saying, welcome, Shadow and Sun. You are in with the gold today. With that in mind, this is the live stream for Shadow and Sun. Okay, so do drop in, give them a listen. If you like what they have to say, give them a thumbs up, and do subscribe to the channel. Okay, I'm sure you'll find a lot of his information rather intriguing. I'm actually starting to go through it again just to get tips on different painting techniques and see some of the work that he's already done. Definitely well worth looking at. So hopefully your day is going well there, Shadow. Then we have Woo in with the silver. Woo, how you doing? Glad to see you around. Hopefully things have finally stabilized on your end. I know it's been hectic as all get out for you. And we have Joe Stewart in with the silver, or with the bronze, rather. My apologies, Joe. Sorry you didn't quite get the silver. But hopefully things are going well on your end. That activity is running nicely. And I know your journals are adding up. So that'll be fun to keep an eye on. In with honorable mention, we have Steve Knox. How's it going there, Steve? Glad you could make it. I know the neat part about it is as you get things sorted around, and this is what we're looking at today. Okay, let's top that. Today, we're looking at literally how to co-create your place in society today. Okay, that boils down to where are you standing right now and where do you desire to be and what steps you take to actually get there. Now, at the top of the chat room, you'll see a link to buy me a coffee. That link will get you to everything from the free newsletter that I put out, which is Positive Perspectives, and all I require there is a simple request for it. Okay, I'm cutting it real tight this month because, well, all kinds of hiccups. I can give you the background to it. Doesn't matter. I'll be tying it off tonight, between tonight and tomorrow. It'll be out before the end of the month. Okay, that's one of the things that I've got to get organized, which, by the way, is why I've got this neat little pad. Nothing written on it right now, but this is to make certain that I stay on track. And we'll go through that in 10 seconds here. Now, any book that I talk about, okay, any philosophy I talk about, reaching me can be done through that little link at the top. The other option, of course, is this one. The easiest email to catch me at is literally this email here. Okay, so if you are trying to get a hold of me, maybe a question you've had to ask didn't get answered, drop me a line. Maybe the question you've got is too big to be answered in just a couple of sentences. Drop me a line. I've been consulting personal and business for, well, I'm just about 61. Okay, so we have been doing this since, well, legitimately for about 51 years. I started when I was 10. Okay, but professionally, I started when I was 23. With this in mind, we're looking at 37 going on 38 years. Okay, so that being said, when I talk about databases, I'm referring to literally my own experience with well over 100,000 clients over the course of my career. Now, the other thing at the top of the chat room is a list of the rules of the road. Okay, the rules of the road in this chat room. Number one, now the 3 laws I follow: be true to yourself first. Do unto others as you desire them to do unto you. Energy out, energy in. All 3 of these are equally important. Now, I've seen things happen in the past with people going, I want to be heard. And what they end up doing, okay, just before I get to that, the moderators I've got in place are there to make certain that these rules are followed. Okay, that way I don't have to worry about them. And for those of you that get this brilliant idea that repeatedly entering the same thing over and over is a great way to get my attention, certainly it is. You'll get evicted. Okay, and this is what I rely on the moderators for. Okay, because all it does is distract from everything that's going on. Rest assured, nobody in this chat room, myself included, okay, is actually more important than anybody else. The one thing you got to realize, my live stream, if I don't like something, hate to tell you this, but that's the one area where I do have dominant control. At least I aim for it. I lost it a little while ago, ended up with a heart attack out of the deal, not going down there again. Now, all 3 of those laws are real important because they all run hand in hand. But you'll notice if you take a look at the laws you follow, okay, you'll notice that all of them will fit inside those 3. Don't take my word for it. Do your own research. And for pity's sakes, if you find a law that you follow that doesn't fit inside those 3, do me a really big favor. Drop me a line. Okay, let me know what the law is, because I'm still looking for the one that doesn't fit there, just in case it exists. Okay, now we go through that. Then we get, how are you going to get evicted like that? There won't be a debate, and people have tried coming back to me and going, oh, but I shouldn't have been, you're the host of the stream. Can't you get me past the moderators, get me back in? The answer is no. I mean, technically the answer is yes, I could. Am I going to? Not a snowball's prayer. Okay. So the 3 things that'll get you evicted in a heartbeat: stating that any belief structure is better than any other, okay, is going to get you evicted, because we're not here to tell you anybody's belief structure, mine included, is better than yours. If you agree with mine, if it meshes with yours, this is great. If not, I'm not telling you it's the best one on the planet. I'm telling you it's the one I follow. Okay. 2, political lobbying. In other words, trying to say that one political party is on the right track or on the wrong track. Go ahead if you want to say, I'm a Republican. That's where it ends. Don't care if you're a Republican. Go ahead. You can be following independents. You can be a liberal. I don't care if you're if you're in favor of eating your opponents. It doesn't matter to me. Okay. I'm not going to tell you it's wrong. I will tell you eating other people is probably not going to be accepted well. Okay. But trying to say, oh, by the way, vote for me. I'm running for this office. Don't bother. Okay. Now I know somebody will end up doing that at some point, and you'll get one warning on that note. I'm running for such and such. That's where it ends, because the second time you're out the window. Just done. Okay. The third issue is stating anybody's opinion is wrong. Their opinion cannot be wrong. The facts or the information they're working on may be misinterpreted. It may have been overlooked. A lot of things, but the opinion itself cannot be wrong. with all this in mind, let's take a look at where you're standing and where you're heading for. And I'm going to scroll down just to see what I missed here. Oh, Joe's going, it's 21 degrees here. Snowing, 21 degrees here, snowing out. That white light I told you about before is to the far bottom right, blinking in and out, but it's not a vehicle or a person. Person wouldn't be out there wouldn't be out there. Oh, I cannot read whatever that is. Oh, would not be out there this long. Yeah, and this is why we take a look at the map. You take a look at everything when you're striving to figure out, are we dealing with memory? Are we dealing with a paranormal event? Always, always, always do your research, check and eliminate all of the logical possibilities. As Spock, and I'm going to paraphrase this, as Spock from the original Star Trek series said, when you eliminate all likely, well, how did he put it? When you eliminate all probable, all probable outcomes, whatever is left, however improbable it is the answer. Okay. Now, I am not a videographer, so I cannot tell you whether videos are real. Whether or not they're actual videos or whether they've been tampered with. Doesn't happen. Now, let's get started and see what we're going to get doing in the first. Oh, one other little detail. If you've got a question, whether it's in this topic or another one, that's up to you. Okay, put it in the chat room in all caps. That's not yelling. That simply gets my attention. Okay. Or in partial caps, at least put a big wavy hand up. That'll show me that you're trying to get my attention. Okay, and I will do my best to catch them. If I don't get to your question, I may well have missed it, especially if you put it in small letters. The odds are I'll have missed it. Okay, but put the questions in. Now, in order to create your own place in society, the first thing you got to identify is, where are you? And I don't mean geographically. I mean mentally speaking. Okay? Where are you sitting in society? And that's the first thing you ask. Second, are you happy where you are? Are you content? Do you feel you've reached where you're going, where you're aiming for? Okay, now understand, I've always looked up to one gentleman in particular, Colonel Sanders, who opened Kentucky Fried Chicken, now known as KFC. My understanding is when he was 65, he started his first chicken stand. Now, I don't know what he did beforehand, but he started his first chicken stand at 65 and went, this is what I desire done. He stood his ground on it. 4 months later, he closed the doors because his staff wouldn't follow exactly what he said. Okay, in today's world, he became he became a household name globally. Okay, that's where he went. Now, I've always looked at that and gone, he was 65 when he started. When I first came across him, it was 5 years ago when I first started looking at that side of it. But of course, I was brilliant. He was 65. I got lots of time. So I haven't done jack, to speak of. Haven't gotten organized at all. Now what I'm doing is literally putting things in place and going, okay, where am I standing? One of the tools I'm talking about now are literally the same ones I personally use. Okay, and yes, to be clear, where'd it go? There. These books here, this is literally the first one that I put out, of the series anyway, was Believe in Yourself and Follow Your Dreams. That gives you the backbone of how I took my perception on life from an absolute recluse Okay, an absolute recluse, very shy, really not able, not willing to even let people know what I was thinking, unless I was directly asked. Chad, I noticed you just got into the house here. And guys, this is the link to Chad's live stream. So absolutely drop in, give him a listen. If you like what he has to say, do give him a thumbs up. Okay. And do subscribe to the channel and then share the daylights out of it. Okay. It's this sharing of links that is going to help set the stage to literally change things around here. Now, we can wait for the rest of the world, and we can wait for the so-called leaders, the elites, the people that have established themselves as leading individuals. Or we can turn around and do what I'm looking at. Okay, your call. Now, I like the way it was put one day. If you want to follow me, that's great. Easiest trick in the book is to remember what I look like. In Reno, that's probably going to be a necessary commodity. Came over here looking for something, forgot what the heck it was. But when you're taking a look at it, the methods that I use are what work for me. Okay. Now, absolutely, if you haven't given them a shot, do yourself a favor. Give it a shot. Okay. Now, we can wait on other people to make the laws. You got to follow the laws that are written. Okay. We are not talking about, how's it going there, LA? Glad you could join us. Hopefully you're feeling better. Hopefully you're feeling better and steadily improving. Okay, I mean, it's just, I was talking to you the other day. Could not tell you how happy I was to feel you bouncing back. The reality is we can let other people decide, when are we going to be successful? When are you going to get up and do something? And here's the neat little kicker. Okay. I can't wait. We got snow this morning, and that was really annoying. This sign here, and I don't mean the wood one because that's a pain in the neck on the fridge. These 4 words, okay, I am worth it. Take those to heart. Okay, that's the first step that is really necessary. Now, aside from some pretty severe experience in deficiencies, can you think of any reason why you, whoever you are, cannot become a major global leader? Okay, is there any reason why Steve Jobs could do what he did, or why the president can get into the position of power he is as compared to you? Okay. Now, don't get me wrong, there are a staggering number of hurdles to get through. So you got to either learn to go with the hurdles or figure out a way legally to modify them so you can operate. Okay, this is the key to it. Now, if any of you, I believe the term is, if any of you object to this line of reasoning, please state your concerns. In my way of looking at it, I object to it a lot. This is why I bang my head on the wall so often. That and the fact I can't see where I'm going half the time. But it is time to literally go, where are you standing? Are you content in the level of income you've got? Are you content with the way things are moving at this point? Now, I do want to see something here. Nope, that all sits stable. Okay, we're just going to leave that alone for a bit. But the thing we have to realize, okay, well, that's depressing. Oh, well, that's okay. Are you going to stay in one place? Okay, now, first and foremost, take a look at where you're standing. Okay, that's the first thing you do. In my case, I'm living in 1,000 square foot apartment. Okay, that's it. Now, is this where I'm content to stay? In one sense, yes, but I'm not content to be fighting one step to the next. Okay, wondering when I'm going to actually have food on my table. This is something that I do not like. Let's face it, every one of you, I don't care how much money you've got, every one of you, I would lay odds, likes to have the food of your choice on the table. Okay, a secure roof over your head with your lights on, all the above. Okay, I'm pretty certain you're all looking at that the same way. All the way from the paupers to the multimillionaires. You've all got the same outlook. Okay, various different problems, absolutely. But you take a look at where you are. Now, here's the thing. What's this? That's the list of what I was doing. This one is the list of what I have to do. As soon now, this thing here, okay, I use paper and pen because frankly, I'm still a dinosaur. Okay, at least I'm not using slate and chisel. You remember how they used to do that on the Flintstones? Yes, I'm from a while back. But first thing I've got to do, I finally went through it. We went through Return to Paradise today. So the first thing I got to do when I get done here, okay, is move chapter 28 to 26. The reason I've got to do that is because I finally got it straight in my own head how to reorganize the tail end of it so we can tie it off. My outlook is this. I've got all these different projects on the go, but I've been really, really badly scattered. Now, how many of you have tried to get a lot of things going and got so many things on the go you couldn't stay organized? So, first and foremost, figure where you're standing. Now, I'm still looking at my income, but I'm now looking at it from the standpoint of how do I get a stable foundation down? How do I take this message that we can, working together, make this a better world for virtually everybody? We do not have to wait for the spiritual guides, for the religious leaders to stand up in front of a pulpit and go, get up and go to work and make your own life better. You've heard the term, God helps those that help themselves. Well, rest assured, much as it may not appear that way to you, he wasn't referring to thieves. Okay, he was actually referring to those of you that are reaching out, like many of you in this room have proven beyond a shadow of a doubt. Okay, at least beyond a shadow of a doubt to me, that you're striving to help the people around you. This is evidenced by the number of people that have turned around and said in the chat room, oh, I've got this problem. And you get 3 or 4 people just like that. Now, understand something very important for those of you that are listening in and are not in the chat room. Okay, when I'm talking 3 or 4 people, immediately jump on the wagon and go, here's a couple of options that you've got. We are sitting regularly at somewhere between 10 and 20 listeners. And 10 and 20 people in the chat room. This means if you're looking at 4 people, you're looking at anywhere, if you're looking at anywhere from 20% to 50% of the people in the chat room are all of a sudden, bang, here's some ideas on how to solve things or how to cope with something. Okay. And I'll tell you, that's the way this world will work better. The majority of people, they've got to a position, but what happens is they get into a new position and they don't change their effort level. It's like, you're sitting in a low position, so you make a little more effort and you get the promotion. This is great. The problem is most people, from my experience, they get to this new position and then stop working on it. Okay, I've done the same thing myself. And I'll get ahead a little bit and go, okay, I've got room to relax. You remember the idea of the tortoise and the hare? Tortoise rushes forward, gets a couple of feet ahead, and goes, now I can sit back and relax. The hare does. The tortoise, on the other hand, goes, I'm just going to keep on plugging away. We've got to take on the idea, the attitude of the tortoise. There's my goal. That's what I'm going after. Okay, and take it literally one step at a time. Okay, hopefully this is making sense to you guys. Okay, Lord knows there are a lot of times, and I get reassured by many of the people in the chat room. I really do, which I appreciate. But there are a lot of times when I sit here talking, and I'm going like, I swear I'm talking to a wall, because I don't see, I'm not seeing as big a change as I would like. Of course, in all fairness, I don't have a nuclear bomb to set off, and I've got no interest in figuring out how to make one, to make that kind of an impact. But if I can help even one of you get your feet on the ground, okay, and do understand, absolutely, in a normal world, like out there amongst everybody, okay, understand something very important, especially where moderators in this chat room are concerned. Okay, I've got a number of moderators in here. I know personally how many people I desire to have. Yeah, LA goes, I've been the Energizer Bunny, the hare, way too long. Embrace the tortoise, I'm plugging away at it now. Fantastic, LA. I know the feeling. It's like, let's go in that many directions and then figure out where we're heading. Okay, and I'll tell you, it becomes really complicated. But, I watch where it comes to the moderators, I pick people to put into a moderator position. Okay, and absolutely, in any company, okay, if you're looking for a promotion, absolutely, number one, step up, do your job properly, and let your boss know, or let the manager know. In this case, I've had a few people come to me and go, can you make me a moderator? Well, here's the way that works. Categorically, it'll be at this point. At this point, it'll be no. However, okay, I am keeping notes myself up here of the people that are following the guidelines that we've already got set. Okay, and you can bet your bottom dollar with my support staff running the moderators right now. Okay, they keep an eye on problem children. Okay, in ways that I can't even begin to explain. Temperature is a little high here, so we go to the bat cave here and we modify that. They do things that, technologically speaking, I can't even begin to explain, so I'm just not going to. But it's absolutely imperative, if you decide to move up in this world, not only is it imperative you figure out where you're aiming to get to, let people know. This is why I'm telling people I am building a global empire. That's just the way that's going to be. Now, my office itself is set up. That's where, when you're looking at making a place for yourself in society, understand today's world is built on the financial world, on the way you look at finance. But we got to realize money is not the root of all evil. Greed, well, frankly, fear is. Greed is born of fear of lack. Okay, and there's a whole pile of things to go with that. But when we're talking about the moderators, I know how many people, how many subscriptions I'm looking at. And when I hit that point, or if the moderators step forth and go, look, we could really use somebody else in here, I will, when it comes to finally choosing who, I'm going to go turn to them and to the moderators that are already here and go, okay, what are we looking at and who are our options? Then I'll make the final decision. That said, right now, take a look at your life. What's the first thing that you can think of offhand? Now, clearly, LA's already got the idea that trying to do 17,000 things at once doesn't work well. Thankfully, with the support system you've got around you there, LA, fortunately, I'm expecting you to stick around for a while. I am coming down this year, and we've got some work that we got to do. But you got to live long enough for me to get there. Okay, because I'm working out the time frame for it now. But it really boils down to, if you desire to make a place for yourself in society, pick the direction you desire to go. Look at what everybody is doing and go, how am I going to stand out in my heart, not in theirs? You can only gauge what you're doing that you're content with. Okay, an obvious example from my standpoint is the idea that I was told about posting when I'm coming online a day earlier. Needless to say, I haven't gotten as good at that as I should be, or as I'd like to be. Well, I hate to tell you this, LA, there is the other choice. I just prefer you not to take it. But yeah, I am absolutely looking at getting down there. I'm not overly concerned about the temperature, but because of the fact that I've got another trip that I'm going to be making, like I've got 3 trips now lined up in my own head that I'm now figuring out when to make. Okay. Now, I'm not worried about the issue of getting down there and it being hot. I know one thing for certain. If I get down there and it's hot, keep water running through the system. This is just common sense. It's kind of like if you live in a desert. When they say don't drink alcohol, it's not because alcohol is a bad thing, except for the fact it dehydrates you. And if you're living in a desert, this is just plain a bad idea. But as the saying goes, you cannot legislate intelligence. Okay, so I'm looking at this going, my goals right now are pretty cut and dried. Ellie goes, heat and desert is why God made air conditioning. I thought somebody else invented it, but I can work. Well, no, that's true. God got the wind going. I like the old-fashioned air conditioners in the car. Roll down the window, stick your hand out the window, and drive really fast. But don't cut too close to the mailboxes, because I'll tell you, that hurts. But when we're talking about life on this planet, common sense plays a big role. Unfortunately, common sense is one of the biggest casualties in this race against time with technology. Now, I will tell you, I don't care who you are, time's going to win. And for those of you that are worrying about whether we're going to die, I'll clear it up. You are. Okay, you're going to get older, you're going to die. The question is, how are you going to live at this point? Now, when I look at the Yldrbac Chronicles, I've got the rest of the chapter, all but one chapter written. Okay, but I know now how to organize them, and that will be the next step. I'll get the next one moved. 28 will get moved to 26. Then it'll get edited and expanded and edited. Then I'll move the next chapter in. But I know the sequence I've got to go in. Okay, and I'm starting to pull them together from that end. So that's the first thing I got to do when I get done. And like I said, guys, if you haven't got one, get a pad out, because we're going to show you how to change your life for the better. We're going to start doing that tonight. As a matter of fact, we're going to start doing that right now. We're just not waiting until the end of the show and then, we'll give you the techniques. Wait till the end of the show. And at the end of the show, we go, hey, here's an idea. Here's a book. You can buy that, and it's got all the answers. Yes, it's got the concise answers. Absolutely. But I'll tell you, I'm not waiting that long. Okay. Now, let me ask you. If you're out and about in society, okay, and you see a stranger, which makes you feel better, bear in mind, you desire to make a place for yourself in this society. Doesn't matter what the goal. Like, let me ask you this. And I'd love people to share this one in the chat room if you're up to it. Okay. What are, there was a movie back in the late 80s, I think, called The Bucket List, i.e. things I really desire to do. Okay. Now, whether it is a goal, whether it is to make something, to go someplace, doesn't matter. Okay. And, I'm curious what you guys are aiming at to make your life feel better. Now, when you're out and about and you run into a stranger, which makes you feel better? Somebody growling at you and just complaining? Somebody staring at the ground, ignoring everybody, or they've got those neat little headsets on and the earbuds and they're tuning out the world, or somebody that as they're walking by looks you in the eye, smiles at you and says, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time is appropriate, instead of, good Lord, would you just flock off? That isn't going to make people feel better. But which of those three options make you feel better? Okay, just think about that for a moment and understand if something makes you feel better or makes you feel worse, the odds are it's going to have the same effect on the majority of other people. Okay, you'll notice this neat little thing here. Okay, when I had my stroke, I ended up losing the ability to put this necklace on because I couldn't get my left hand to work well enough to attach it. Okay, I just couldn't do it. About yesterday sometime, I think it was, I was finally able to reattach it. Now, I'm not quick with it, but that's okay. And changing your life, finding your place in society, is not likely to happen overnight. Okay, but I will tell you, the first step is not the hardest. The first step is actually the quickest. Problem is that that it's the quickest once you make the decision you're going to change. Okay, but you've got to be changing for yourself. The best doctor in the world can tell you, you've got to change your health habits, or you're going to die. Unless you take that on yourself and go, I'm changing my health habits, you're not going to make much headway. Okay, and this is why I'm doing this. So, of course, the first thing I've got to do is I'm going to be moving chapter 28 to 26. The second thing I'm doing, as soon as I've done that, is I will be posting. Actually, I'm going to end up doing this one with a 2-day lead. Okay, is I'm going to be posting Friday's topic. Now, the reality is I could wait until Thursday, but, actually, in all fairness, what I should do before I post that, that'll probably be Friday when I post it, but set the policy perk to general topics. Because what's got to happen here, for me to make things happen, I've got to get organized. Okay. And there are a lot of different topics that can be dealt with that are literally months in the making. Okay. So I've got to get positive perk topics set out. Okay. Now, Oh, forgot one that I've got to do even before I post. And you'll notice that I'm using this because I'm telling you it works. Well, if I'm going to tell you it works, does it not make sense I should be putting it to use? Okay. So, of course, the first thing I've got on my list is literally to deal with my health. Because it'd be really kind of a shame for me to go, LA, you got to stay alive till I get there. And for me to kick off before I get there, that's a problem. Okay. Now, I figure I've got 3 trips to make. So I'm looking at May. We got one in May. Probably do it that way. I'm making my first trip in May. Obviously, that's the one I'm going to Reno. Okay. But in order to take the time to set things in motion properly, okay, because I like things happening in a rhythm. That's just me personally. Now, with that in mind, I'm likely going to be targeting August. And yeah, I know August is right smack in the middle of summer. That just means I don't have to bring a winter coat anywhere. Okay. But I'm probably going to head for Texas in August, as in 3 months down the road from May. In case you don't believe me, count the months yourself. Like I said, don't just take my word for things. Do your own research. Okay, very important factor from that end. And then, of course, that takes me to, I don't honestly recall if I'm heading for South Carolina or North Carolina, but that likely makes it November. Okay, little cooler, probably damp. Don't know. Grew up on the island, so I'm half duck anyway. But pick where you desire to be. And some of the things that you may have to question is you've got a goal. Like, for instance, let's say one of your goals is to open a restaurant. It would be advisable to learn how to run one. If you've never run a restaurant or never worked in one, okay, it would be advisable to take a course or at least hang around a restaurant, watch how they do it. Get things organized from that end. It boils down to this. If you're going to modify your place in society, okay, I dealt with one gentleman years ago that was living on the street. He was a real front end member of a local gang. Okay, he desired to change his life. So I worked with him for a while. He got off the street, got away from the gang, and became a very prominent person in his own community in a positive fashion. You've got the same capacity. Okay, I had a young lass that I knew years ago. When I first met her, she was living on the roof of a school. She is now married. She decided that she desired her life to change. She did the work, did the research, asked for help. And I'm telling you, if you don't know how to do something, talk to somebody that has successfully done it. Okay. Like, I would never talk to my parents when they were alive. I wouldn't talk to them about a lot of things, but specifically, I would never ask them how to be a millionaire because they never were one. Okay. Did they know how to run a business effectively? Absolutely. This is why when I look at the way people running hotels today run them, I'm going, guys, for technology to be improving things, it should be doing something a little differently. My parents, when they ran a motel, okay, they grabbed their reservation book. You'd phone in, they grab the book, flip open a page and go, okay, we got this room available for you. Take the information, mark it down. Problem solved. Done in one phone call. Okay. In today's world, have any of you gone through this? You phone a hotel. Number one, they put you to a connection at some other end of the country, okay, or some other end of the world, where the people don't know what's going on, and they go, well, I'll have to look into it. No, you desire the weather. You should be able to phone the weatherman. Well, in all fairness, you should be able to look out the front window. Okay, but have you ever noticed the more technology has come in, the easier it is to screw things up, the more time it takes? We go back 100 years. Okay, mail used to take, and I mean write a letter, put a stamp on, and put it in the mailbox. Used to take a week to get from one side of the country to the other. Okay, in today's world, with all the technology, all the stuff on the go that we've got going for us, theoretically going for us, it takes longer than a week in the same city. Okay, now I don't know about you, but to me, this does not mean technology has helped. Now, don't get me wrong. If it weren't for this and for this computer, I would not be here talking to you right now. Which, quite honestly, from my standpoint, that makes total sense. But take a look at where you're standing. Are you content? Now, I'm no longer content with the way things are. So, of course, what do I got here? See, I've got the first three things on my list already, and was just that quick. I can go back up off my desk. Again, if something is sitting in the wrong place, intriguing, isn't he? I keep him there to remind myself that there are better ways of doing things. You know the old theory, the owl is a symbol of wisdom. Does that really look like he's a symbol of wisdom? Mind you, he does bring the point to mind. Okay. Then we've got the ages-old wisdom, our little dragon. Yes, I have some small stuffies I hang on to. Okay. No, I don't go crawling into bed with them, which I really don't care if people do. I find it rather fascinating that some people actually do still take a specific sentimental blanket to curl up with. Okay, and if you do, guys, remember, as you get older and as time goes on in this world, you are going to get older. It's up to you whether you get old. Okay, myself, I figure I've spent my entire life trying to figure out how to fit in. Now I'm going, nope, how about if we don't do that anymore? How about if we just figure out how to see where I'm heading, grab a torch, and light the way? And I'm telling you, if, they tell me it's lonely at the top, my offer is this. I'm going to the top, but I'm going to push the top to a whole new height. Now, I realize I'm 61. Well, you've been, you're too old to start moving forward. If you're not dead, you're still able to make a change. Okay. If you're dead, you might have a little bit of a hiccup. But as was said in X-Men Infinity Wars, as was said there, if you get killed, walk it off. Okay. Now, being killed can be either physical or, emotionally. Maybe you've been pounded into the ground so often, you look at it going, why do I desire to get out of bed? Okay, maybe that's the holdup. Maybe every time you've reached out to somebody, you've had your hand slapped. And I'm telling you, the argument, well, I didn't slap your hand, is a lousy argument in order to encourage you to get up and move. Okay, but I will tell you, if you don't do something for yourself, your life is not going to change. Waiting for somebody else to straighten it out doesn't work. There is a proven statistic that I didn't take and that I didn't develop, somebody else did. Okay, when people get a massive windfall, okay, most of them, the massive majority of them, are in worse shape 3 years after that windfall than they ever were before it. Okay, point in fact, okay, 2 years ago, I got a windfall of $100,000. Okay, when my mother passed. Okay, now I cooked it like that, doing my best to help other people. Okay, I don't like that. Doing my best to help other people. I'm telling you, you gotta learn that lesson before it gets too late. Okay, you've got to take care of you first. So when the money came in, I distributed it around. I'm going to help everybody. Only I didn't pay attention to my own issue. Net result, I ran into a massive bind. Okay, ended up cutting right to the wire. This time, I'm now taking steps one step at a time to make things happen. Okay, that's the big issue that I'm going to be looking at. And in all fairness, I may do that anyway. Again, when like I'm going to shift gears here. One of the things that most of us overlook when you're striving to get things accomplished, the world is geared right now. The world is geared right now for instant gratification. Do as little to get ahead as you can. All you got to do is sit on your tail feathers in order to get ahead. And I'm telling you, I've tried this sitting on my backside for the longest time, and it really didn't get anything accomplished. I absolutely got a little older. In a lot of ways, I got old. Okay. The whole like people do go, well, what do you do for fun? I really don't know. Okay. That's something that I'm in the process of trying to figure out. I don't even know how to define fun. Okay. So I'm talking about defining your place in society. If you can be a stand-up comedian and make people laugh by what you say, absolutely do so. Okay. I found out a long time ago, comedy is not my strong suit. But when you look at where your life is, I'm curious how many of you are actually now pushing to make things happen, to actually change where your life is going, whether it's alter your health with or without the encouragement of doctors. Okay, I'm telling you, doctors they've got a conflicted problem. Healthy people don't pay bills. Healthy people don't pay medical bills. So a doctor that is relying on making their money by helping sick people, the healthier people get, the less they need him. Now, in my eyes, this is a good thing. But you got to remember, and this is why I will do this stream for free. I will do the newsletter, the newsletter for free. Okay, because you guys are not the only people that are having troubles. You guys are not the only ones that are out there striving to make your life better. Okay, but maybe you get along fine with your next door neighbor, and your next door neighbor doesn't know what I've got on the table. Okay, so it's up to you to talk to the next door neighbor, assuming you agree with what I'm saying. Talk to the next door neighbor about it and encourage them to make changes in their life. Okay, like I mentioned, when we hit the 600, we're now starting to bob up and down around it. Pretty soon, within the next week or so, we're likely going to climb a little and come out of the area of dropping below the 6. It's very much along the lines of my aiming at getting past the 190 on dropping weight. I'm bouncing back and forth just below 190 and over it by a pound or two. But as things come into balance, that will change. Okay, hopefully this is making sense. If not, absolutely ask. Well, that's where I run into the problem, Steve. I would think so too. The writing, the writing, I definitely do. The neat little catch to it is there's a couple of characters in the Yldrbacian Chronicles. Where are we? These ones here. Okay. There's a couple of characters in here that, yes, I enjoy writing for them. The story itself is an involved one that literally covers when you look at the entire series, it covers from the beginning, literally the beginning of reality as you know it. Okay. It is set in the Yldrbacian Chronicles are set in a science fantasy situation. Okay, absolutely they are. However, I've drawn on personal experience and personal people that I've run into. I was going to go that I've personally run into. Okay, to populate the storylines, as well as the different rules, the different pieces of information I've got. Some of what I've done is taken poems and songs that I've personally written and put them in this book. Well, more to the point, in the series. But yes, I do spend a lot of time doing it, and clearly, if I didn't enjoy it to a major degree, I couldn't spend that much time with it. Okay, same where it comes to gaming. Now, the funny part about role game, about the Dungeons and Dragons, is I take a character in Dungeons and Dragons and go, okay, I've got a character now. I'm literally living a secondary life that way. Okay, and what I mean by that is I built a character with a personality, then rolled up his stats. Okay, much like in the real world, your personality is already determined. Your personality is not actually it's not a side effect of the wiring in your brain. Your physical body is genetic. Your brain's ability to cross communicate is genetic. It's a mechanical thing. But the actual driving energy is your soul. Now, if you don't believe in a soul, that's okay. I'm not the one to prove it. Okay. But I am the one to tell you, in my experience, past lives are things that you remember that don't make sense. You've got no way of remembering them. You either haven't read anything to trigger the memory or watched anything to do so. And yet, I run into people time and again that go, Keith, I know you from somewhere. And when we work it out, I've so far found people I already know many of my past lives. I found people I was with in Atlantis. I found people I was with in Manoa. I found people I was with in that neat little fishing village in Northern Ireland. Which, needless to say, I was nothing special there. I was a fisherman. Okay, so I look at that. Almost everything I do has a reason behind it. Okay, when I sit down to play Skyrim, it's simply a case of I've been sitting here too long, and I've been focusing too much on complicated things. Skyrim is a slow enough game that I can watch it on the computer and keep up with it. But there again, I've organized what I'm planning on. Same as with this situation. Okay. So and again, every book I've shown you here, I personally wrote. Okay. I personally wrote them, and they are available on that with that little button at the top called Buy Me a Coffee. One thing I have discovered is as you're getting organized, as you're redesigning how your world is going, I will tell you this. The more organized you are, the easier it's going to be to change the path your life is on. I'm just glancing over here to make sure I've got everything on track because I got way too many things on the go. I did, however, start this morning reading my my grandmother's autobiography. Okay, I started reading it today because, well, I finished off the second encyclopedia, and yeah, I did say encyclopedia. I'm reading the Bible, a book on magic by Aleister Crowley. That's already got a book to go and got a home to go to. Okay, it'll be going out there this year because as soon as I get it finished, it gets packed up to go. It's just the fact of the matter is I'm going to read it before I turn it in, before I get rid of it, or before it moves on to a new owner. Okay, and that's just the way my life works. But literally almost everything I do is usually designed to accomplish something. I've just been very scattered, worrying, much like you guys. How am I going to make ends meet? Well, let me show you if I can figure out how to do it. Well, here we go. Here's how you make ends meet. There's pencil and a pen. Both have an end, as you can see. How do you make ends meet? Well, you tilt them together and you bring them together, and then the ends meet. You'll notice I'm not really good at that. That has something to do with try lining something up when your hand shakes like that. Okay. But making ends meet boils down to get an idea in your head of what you're doing. Do you actually know how? And ask yourself this. Part of making your place of co-creating your place in society boils down to having the financial wherewithal to be able to do the things you desire. Okay, I personally have managed to get things turned around in my own house where I probably have, I'm not in any danger of, I'm not worried about, oh, the world's going to end and we need to stockpile food and we got to stockpile money. I don't buy into that. Okay, but I do buy into the idea of I don't want to leave the house. Therefore, I'm going to turn around, make sure I've got food in the house so I don't have to leave the house. So I've got probably 3 months, excluding fresh vegetables and milk. I've probably got 3 months of food stockpiled in my house for 3 kids. Well, for 2 kids and me. Technically, 3 kids. Okay, it boils down. You desire to get ahead. Let me ask you this. If you look at the people out there, okay, anybody you know, and I'd love to see what some of the responses in the chat room are. Who do you personally look up to? Who do you see what they're doing and go, gee, that's somebody I'd like to emulate? This is not jealousy. This is, you might call it envy. You certainly call it admiration. Okay. But, like I said, I look at, if I'm looking for a big icon, okay, well known from my life, was quite seriously was Colonel Sanders. Okay, I have no idea what his name was, what his full name was. Never really mattered. It was what he did that mattered. And many of you I know have gone through problems. I look at the one young lad in this chat room. Okay. And I believe, and names are always a royal pain in the neck. Okay. But some people have gone through some staggering setbacks in their life. Okay. And I look at those people and go, okay, you're back on your feet. You still got a smile on your face in spite of what you've gone through. This is something to recognize. This is something to applaud. Not this idea of, how many people do you know that will go out and say, hey, I really look up to Bonnie and Clyde. Most people will not come out and go, I really admire the way they took the law into their own hands and stole from everybody around them. You just don't get people doing that. Okay. Now, I will agree. Some business people, their personalities are, shall we say, questionable at best. Okay. but they do have qualities. Every business person I know that I've ever met has some quality that makes sense. Some of them are extremely, extremely selfish. Some are way too generous. In my case, I am aiming at being just generous enough that I can get everything I'm aiming at. Be true to yourself first. Okay. But I'm aiming at being generous enough to help as many people as I can without crippling myself. Oh, there we go. Hey, Steve, how we doing? I think I saw you. Yeah, I did. Yeah, that wouldn't be surprising. I do know that John Wayne's real name was Marion, which may explain why he became a fighter, but that's another issue. But in all fairness, what Colonel Sanders did, it wasn't so much an issue of what his name was, it was how he approached things. There we go, and Storm is just confirming it that yes, Colonel Sanders was named Harland. Actually, if I recall correctly, he called himself Colonel Sanders because that was the military rank he got to. At least that was the rumor I heard. Whether that was the reality behind it, I don't know. What I do know is he took an idea and made a go of it. And in my case, I'm looking at positive perspectives and positive perceptions and going, we're going to make this a global concern. And I don't mean global as in 500 and some odd people. Like right now, we're at 599. Okay. Like I said, we're bobbing around the 600 right now. But the fact we broke it says we're going to. But I'm looking at making this into a going concern. Okay. Where we can do exactly what some of the bigger moguls are doing and help literally thousands of people to get and to attain their own dreams. If I can open doors and facilitate, that works out well. Oh, there we go. Storm goes, the title of Colonel was to promote the image of a Southern gentleman. And whatever works in my eyes, whether he was military, it does promote that kind of an image. Of course, I'm not quite certain how, a Southern gentleman and fried chicken go together. But then, the reality is, even when I ran a plantation centuries ago, okay, I didn't do things the way I was saying that everybody else did anyway. But at this point, I'm looking at it going, I've got an image in my head. Maybe my ego's way too inflated. Maybe maybe I've got this neat little dream that is just too big. Possible. Is that going to stop me from pushing for it? Not a prayer. Okay. It's just one of those things that I'm going to do. It's kind of like the idea I now was able. Took me 4 years to get there. Okay. But I now can get my necklace back on. Not quickly, but the fact I can do it says I can build the rest of it, which means I can now start working on actually putting my hand back together. Oh, there we go. Storm goes, the recipe for Southern fried chicken has its own unique flavor and cooking style. Absolutely. And I tell you, I like some of the Southern cooking. The only thing I personally will never eat again, I tried it once, that was lots. Okay. And I know people swear by grits as being a great food. I'm telling you, for me, not going to happen. For me, I just simply don't like it. On the other hand, you know, what the heck was it? I forgot the name of it. I know it's a kind of root beer, and I forget. I'm not just pulling a blank on it. Yeah, absolutely. And I don't know where you buy and where you acquire the taste. I'm not that interested in it. Okay, I do know, and I forget. I'm drawing a blank on the name, but there's a type of root beer down in Texas that I absolutely liked. There we go. Thank you so much, Storm. Sarsaparilla is a flavor. I haven't found it up here yet. I haven't looked too hard for it. But I do know it's available down there. Every culture has its strong suits. I just simply have gone, I know what I like. I know what I'm aiming for. And yeah, maybe my goals are a little big. That is quite possible. But here's the kicker to it. As my dad used to put it, you always shoot for the stars. You may only get to the moon, but you're still getting off the planet. Okay, the sky in my eyes is not the limit. Okay, it's just one of those things that I look at it going, that's a target. Like was said in Batman Begins, when he ended up in jail, and the guy goes, you're in hell and I'm the devil, and Batman goes, no, your target, your practice. In my eyes, I look at these major moguls that are affecting the entire world with their insight, and I'm going, why can I not do that? Other than the fact I'm virtually unknown. Yeah, Steve goes, there are way too many other good things to eat other than grits. Yeah, way too many. I'm a firm believer that experience life, and this is coming from somebody that hid for 55 years. Okay, I hid from the world, and frankly, I hid from life. This is why I'm going to be traveling this year, in spite of getting really edgy about travel. Maybe that'll calm down as I go, but thus far, my sense of direction in all the effort I've made on it has never improved. But the catch to all of this is pick a direction you desire to go. Okay, are you happy with your education level? I had a client that was 52 years old when she came to me with a dream in mind. She desired to become an MD. Okay, I worked with her for 7 years, offering encouragement, offering guidance, until at 60 years old, she turned around and became a licensed doctor. If you're not dead, any goal you've got, almost any goal you've got, you're likely to be able to attain. If you're hoping to be able to fly without wings, I'm not thinking it's likely. But have a happy. Just start off by jumping off the curb, not jumping off a building. Okay, you desire your life to change. Take a look where you are right now. Now, I look at my organization, my office. Okay, and this is where I do all my planning. So you look at that and you go, okay, this is what I'm working with. Now, where do we go from here? What has to be altered in order to make that a reality? You've got to do the same thing. If you're not content with the stuff in your house, if you got stuff you no longer require, okay, then it's time to start pulling it apart. Oh, heavens, Storm, you can land without a problem. Well, no, that's not true. Landing is easy. All you gotta do is get out there and give it a shot. I'm telling you, though, the fall does not cause a problem, but that landing, if it's done wrong, is going to screw up your circulation. I look at what's going on in the world and I go, okay, I talk to you guys about the different things that I see that are off kilter. But the one thing I've committed myself to is not adding to that problem if I can avoid it. Okay, now I cannot correct the entire world, but I can certainly correct my own world. Yeah, no doubt there, Storm. I don't know. My father, he was trying to measure a cliff one day. So he goes out at the top of the cliff, ties a very long measuring tape, right? Tied a very long measuring tape to the top, and he starts climbing down the face of the embankment. Well, things didn't go as planned, but he did get the measuring tape all the way to the ground. As it turned out, now fortunately, he climbed the first 160 feet down, right? And then he grabbed something that didn't work. He fell the last 20, but he did find out that the cliff he was trying to measure was 180 feet. I'm telling you, that's a lousy way to do it. Even he said he would have rather climbed the other 20 feet instead of the sudden jump. But let me ask you this. In your world, and I would deal with specifics a lot more readily with other people's worlds if I had them. Okay, this is why I'm looking at what I'm personally doing, because it's the only one I can say this is what's happening. So of course, like I said, I get done today's stream. First thing I'm going to do is take my heart meds. Then I'm going to turn around and move chapter 20 to chapter 26, like move it in the story. Okay, the reason I'm telling you this is because, like I said, these are tools that I personally use in my own life. If they're going to work in my life, how we doing there, Pink? Haven't seen you in a while. Matter of fact, in all fairness, I'm not sure I've seen you in here at all. But welcome aboard. Glad you could join us. Hopefully your day's been going well. I know mine got started off to an interesting start. At least this morning, by the way, guys. Yeah, I got up early, but at least I didn't get up to a fire alarm. The neat part was after we got through that fire alarm yesterday, both my boys came to me and said, Dad, I'm glad you were up today when the fire alarm went off, because neither one of them heard the fire alarm. Okay. Now, fortunately, the fire was a non-issue, but the fact the fire alarm went off, okay, and then both of them said, I didn't hear it at all. I heard you when you opened the door and said, get up. This is the same thing I'm doing here. Okay. With that in mind, okay, all I'm doing is turning on the lights and saying, this is what I'm doing. Now, I was up when the fire alarm went off. What I was doing was getting out of the building. So the first thing I did was make sure that it was a fire, that there was smoke. There was. So I opened the door. I come to my kids' room, opened the door and said, time to get up. Okay. Same thing here. I'm looking at where my life is right now. I know what I've been through. I've been all the way down to literally ignoring the credit level I've got and the investments. I got down to $624.95 to my name. Okay. Now I'm starting to climb. Okay. And it's not that I feel that money makes anybody better than anybody else. Quite frankly, I've seen money destroy relationships. Okay. In my case, it is simply a means of keeping a roof over my head. And this is something I'm going to stay focusing on. because I've already done the thing of reading down to the wire. Not going to let that happen again. But I'm going to walk you through it so you don't have to go through the same thing. If I can turn the lights on, okay, and help you avoid that kind of a problem. That's the neat thing, Pink Moon. Money is, money when we're talking about currency is just another accepted form of barter. I'm a firm believer that it's easier to move a dollar bill around or a loonie than it is to move a cow. But money itself is not the problem. It's just a way of gauging whether or not you're keeping a roof over your head. Okay. And in the moment we start realizing that even people with a lot of money have the same problems that people with minimal money have, you start to see the world in a different light. I used to have a client that their husband got $100,000 a year bonus every year, and they still couldn't make ends meet. Because people have a tendency of doing the same thing. It's just people with more money have more expensive tastes that they try and reach. And I don't know if that's possible. My mom used to tell me I've got beer bottle budget and champagne taste. Now, personally, I'm not a real fond believer. I don't have a fond taste with champagne. Ultimately, yeah. The neat part about it is I look at it this way. World, the answer to your question, and by the way, welcome aboard, World. Glad you could join here. You join us. The reality is thus far, no. Okay. Where am I here? Gotta go and find something here. I have been keeping an eye open. I just literally went through my emails again today. And well, I go through them pretty much daily now. World, there we are. This is the link to World's live stream. Absolutely, drop in, give him a listen. If you like what he has to say, absolutely give him a thumbs up, and then subscribe to the channel and share the daylights out of the thing. The funny thing is there, Pink, one of the biggest holdups we've got is across the globe, whether we are talking about politics, the corporate world, or religious world, doesn't matter. People are taught to fear everything, okay, and value little. With this in mind, the way to change that is for us, starting in this chat room, to start working inside that framework and show people by example how that is done. Let me ask you this, Pink, and let me ask you this. From your standpoint, okay, when it comes to exchanging goods, okay, how do you place a value on it? How do you yourself choose a value for what you're doing? Okay. Christine, how we doing? Uh-oh. Sure, now you're making me hungry. So because now I'm just going to torture myself. So what do you got on the stove there, Christine? I know when I get done today, I've got to do I'm going to be putting a stir fry together. A big batch of it, because I do it in chunks, so it just says so I can freeze it and have it later. Oh, there we are. Oh, excellent. Yeah, making ground turkey pasta and veggies. I have a tendency of making stir fry. The neat part about it, and the reason I do that is because, well, I'm not a great cook, but by using a slow cooker, I can set that up. It's one of the few things I can pull together. Oh, nice. So how long do you have to cook an Asian for? I find the different types and the different cultures cooking tends to be intriguing. I made a mistake this morning. I was getting ready to do clam chowder, and yes, I start with a base for clam chowder using canned clam chowder. Absolutely, I do, and then I add extra seafood. But I grabbed the wrong can today and opened a can of black beans. Hence my idea of doing a stir fry tonight. My son looks at me and goes, "You're not putting that in the clam chowder, are you?" I went, no. Funny thing there, man, Pink. The Mobian people, when they left Earth, they literally emigrated to Mobius in 50,000 years ago, but they came from Earth, not vice versa. And sadly, the people that were left behind lost a lot of that ability, lost a lot of that memory. But that doesn't mean they can't get back there. It just means people have to start looking inside themselves, and that takes some work. Also takes a little bit of courage on occasion. I mean, I personally have not, I'm not perfect by any stretch. And yet I remember being able to make things show up in the palm of my hand just the moment I desired them. Problem: the vibratory rate on this planet is so riddled with fear right now, so riddled with greed. Nathan, how we doing? And where are we? We gotta find this. And we go to Nathan. Where is the quantum show? There we go. This is the link to Nathan's quantum show. Okay. Now, therefore, drop in, give him a listen. If you like what he has to say, do give him a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. And I'm presuming, Nathan, I might just as well pop this in there. I presume we're back on to tie off the Antarctic situation on Saturday. Okay, yeah, because I've been pulling all that information together. I'll tell you, you opened up a lot of interesting doors that had some ramifications that I'm certainly not going to go on to on here. And they also extend to ramifications that go way outside of what we've been talking about. The reality is you desire your world to change. Like Nathan's one of these people, he's always working. Well, always working, always driving around somewhere, right? He doesn't slow down very much at all. Quite frankly, I find that with a lot of people. My problem is I got into this rut of not slowing down and not getting a lot accomplished. Oh, that I got no problem with, and we'll probably touch on them. Yeah. Working, driving to work, working to drive. I came to the conclusion that I don't drive very much at all anymore. We had a snowfall today. I went, there's a good reason not to leave the house. I don't get a lot of snow in my house. The neat part about this world is we literally, there are so many people in today's society that are so caught up in staying on top of what happens. The moment, and I see this all the time, the moment this society goes into a bit of a hiccup, they say, oh, we're going into a depression. It's such a terrible thing. The people that are struggling to survive in the first place never see a depression. And what do we got here? Honestly, I don't really remember much of the commercial. I always got a kick out of them saying, oh, these are donut holes. I'll tell you, the donuts I liked were the ones that didn't have holes. But I can eat a room full of donut holes, because if you think about it, you take your donut and it's got that hole in the middle. That's not full of stuff. That's not full of anything. That's just air. So I eat those all the time. I'll tell you, if you fill up on donut holes, you're going to drop weight. I'm probably going to drop dead too, by the way. But so many people in today's world look at people that are well off and go, I could never do that. That's where the idea of, oh, you desire to become a musician. Well, don't get into music, because, music won't make you money. You can't make a living making music. I'm thinking, Gene Simmons, John Lennon, even and then you go Johnny Cash. There's staggering numbers of people that made money, made their living making music. Okay, that's just the reality of it. It's the same as artwork. Okay, artwork or writing. Whatever it is you desire to do, it can be turned around to make a living at it. You just got to figure out what's missing. Okay. And I will tell you, one of the things I am doing with the empire I'm building is I will take as many ideas as I can figure out, tie them together, okay, in a massive network. Already working on it. Okay. I've already got plans on the go to make things connect. One of the things I'm working on now is this one. This, don't know if this has any comments in it. Nope, that's paper I'm working with. This is what I'm actually striving to get rid of. Yeah, I do this on occasion. My mind just goes and says, hey, let's go look at this. Whoops. That can sit there. This is scrap paper that doesn't need to be over there anymore. So let's move it over where I can utilize it. Because I'm a firm believer, if you've got scrap paper, okay, and you're still one of these people like myself, the dinosaur that I am, if you've got scrap paper, don't just throw it out until it's used up. Okay, but I've gone through a lot of it that I've been going through. The fact of the matter is, I just look at this. The connection between LA and Storm is phenomenal. I'm sure they have their complications, okay, but just I've known them for years. And just to be clear, I have yet to even hear about them having a fight. I don't know if they've ever had one. I've never heard of one. That much I know. Same as myself and my other half. 3 years together, we've never so much as had an argument, which I'm not complaining about. But it does prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that it is possible to do it. My own parents, 60 years under one roof, never fought that I ever recall. Okay, the closest thing to raised voices I usually heard was if they were having too much fun. And I don't mean fun in the adult sense. Okay, but when we look at this world, you gotta look at what makes you happy. If you're content, if you're doing something that's going to make you content, the odds are it's going to make other people content. So I'm looking at this and going, this stuff's got to be sorted out. Now, of course, I should have thought about this before. See, this is loose paper, but I've got a folder. I've got a file folder that will actually hold quite nicely for. We go into here. Yeah, I got a little sidetracked. It suddenly dawned on me I can pull something off here without a problem. So I do this, and all of a sudden that stuff, this is what I mean. Okay, if you take a look at the way your life is, if something isn't fitting, if something isn't working right, it's time to make a change. You desire to create a new place in society for yourself. The first thing you got to do, the first thing you've got to do is figure out how to work with the tools you've got. Now, I get a kick out of it. Okay. One of the things we got to remember is the technology, and I'm noticing Pink's talking about the technology, being very weak. The funny part is, yes, the Mobians over on Mobius, quite frankly, they absolutely have weaker technology, but you gotta remember, they can make it and break it just like that. They never lost that ability. They don't rely on technology. Mankind, on the other hand, on this planet, have figured out that, hey, we can create all kinds of havoc for ourselves if we let that happen. Now, what I was aiming at getting to was this. I've got 3 boxes just like this one that are chock full of comics. Okay, from back in the 80s is when I stopped collecting. So now I'm starting to go through them. Joe, no requirement to apologize at all. Nathan's got a really good show going. But I am glad you've... where are we here? Can't read the tail end of that. Oh, yeah. Okay. No, Joe, the reality is, the reason I promote Nathan's show is because I do feel he's got some great insights, some great ideas. Okay. So absolutely enjoy it. I leave these videos up, in any event. Okay. Which means you can always catch them afterwards. And obviously you already know, if you've got a question or something you desire to share, you can certainly drop me a comment in the, on the site, or again, drop me an email. Okay. That's the easy part. But absolutely, you got to remember, yeah, I am building an empire that is going to span the planet. But I'm not the only person out there. I'm not the best of the best. I'm looking for the best of the best. Okay. And in my eyes, the partner I found for life ranks right up there as the best of the best that I've come across. Therefore, I'm going to hang on to her. But if you desire your world to change, it's critical you figure out what that world looks like. Okay. And this is why I'm looking at a lot of the things I'm doing going, what am I doing that's a little off kilter? What am I doing that's working? Okay. Now, some of you, on the plus side, on more of a personal side of it, one of the things I'm doing to make certain that I gain the place in my society, in this society, that I take the position I'm aiming for. I'm not looking at following somebody else's footsteps. Okay. I mean, heck, I have enough trouble following my own course. I think that means I got to hurry up and catch up because I am my leader. But am I going to light and turn the lights on and draw anybody with me that chooses to come along? Absolutely. Okay. Providing they follow the simplest of rules. Okay. Number one, you must be true to yourself first. Okay. And the reason for that is if you're not following your laws, you're going to have a heck of a time following somebody else's. But where it comes to especially the written laws, the ones that are written down that are in your country, okay, absolutely follow them. Because I'm telling you, personally, the reason I don't break them, never mind the fact I don't agree with some of them. The reason I won't break them in any event is I don't like the concept of the vertical bar scene. Well, let's face it. Number one, the planet itself is called Earth. Number two, it doesn't belong to me. However, most people call it Earth, they call it, Gaia, Mother Nature. I call her Yldrbac because that's what she told me her name was. Okay. Now, that was just a direct comment from her. Yeah, and we're talking centuries back. I've been here for quite a while. Yeah, there's only one problem with that world. I used to believe that too, except for I found out something. And you're going to have to do your own research. I'll tell you where I found it. There is another planet closer to the sun than Mercury by the name of Vulcan. Now, I don't know how I found it. I was pushing buttons. I was poking around a decade ago and stumbled across it, linked to the NASA site. Okay, I pulled an ephemeris off of the link that I got from NASA. Okay, regarding the location of Vulcan. Now, what got me thinking about that was literally, I was looking at astrology, and I figured, okay, first and foremost, astrology, if you've got a plan, if you've got rulers in astrology, and they're all planets, they've all got to be planets or astrology won't work. So I theorized, okay, or posited that the ancients, when they looked at the sun, had to be seeing something. So that's where my search began. Well, that's okay. Scientists don't necessarily believe what a lot of what's going on. And this is why I say, world, from that standpoint, people can call it, to me, a rose by any other name will still smell as sweet, much like what William Shakespeare said. Okay, I know that the recognized term is that Earth is Sol 3. Absolutely. From my standpoint, the fact that I look at the world, at life a little differently, I just got used to it. You know, but that being said, what I'm referring to and what I'm talking, that one I'm going to have to leave to your own research there, Pink. The short answer is Earth is a Caboran. She's alive all of her own. No, very true, world, but there's a lot of things going on that we haven't proven. Okay, and a lot of things that will be proven in, anywhere from 50 to 100 years. And I'm just not getting caught up in what's been absolutely proven or what hasn't. I learned that a long time ago. I mean, to quote a simple fact of the situation, in the 1970s, I was telling people that if you walked into a government office in the 70s, that the government would know not only how much money you had in your pocket, they would know how much of each denomination. I was told I was just being a whatchamacallit. I was told I was just being paranoid. Okay. Until in the early 2000s on either W5 or 60 Minutes or some sort of a news show like that, the Canadian government came out and said, this is how we've been tracking it since the 70s. So from my standpoint, when I look at something and go, this is the way it's sitting, okay, when I say this is the way it's sitting, I look at it going, I don't call that paranoia. I just go, that's what I'm looking at. Now, the neat part about it, when we're looking at this world, okay, at the society on this world, every one of us, no matter how far, no matter where you're standing, no matter what you started from, there's an old saying that goes, man is gauged by the height to which he climbs. The reality of it is that man is more importantly gauged by the depth from which he has climbed. So at this point, I talked to a millionaire one day, and he goes, I talked to a millionaire one day, and he goes, I've been miserable rich and I've been miserable poor. Hands down, I would rather be miserable rich. In my case, I haven't been rich in my eyes. I've been miserable a lot of the time, but most of that is self-inflicted. What I'm aiming to do is turn the lights on and go, okay, wherever you're from, whatever your memories are, okay, you're here now. This is the world you're working with. This is what we've got control over. This is what you have control over in your world. I had a chap I knew at one point that claimed he was absolutely from another planet. And I looked at him and I said, look, your dominant memories may well be your last lifetime on another planet. The fact you're here, okay, says you're from this planet, this lifetime. This is the one we have to focus on. He didn't take kindly to it, and we ended up losing the connection. I find it fascinating, the number of people that I've talked to over the years. You make a comment, and you make a comment, you warn them, and they totally 100% ignore it. This doesn't make sense to me. Again, karmic law is simple. Do unto others as you desire them to do unto you. And thank you very much, LA. I do appreciate that. The reality is you be as open as you can. Let people look at the world as they will. Everybody everybody in existence is worth the same amount to me. Okay. Not financially speaking, obviously. But we have to realize that this society is built of multiple cultures. Okay. It's just that simple. You know, cultures around the world are part of this society. I can virtually guarantee that the way that I look at the world doesn't mesh with most people's. Okay, I know this. You know, the unfortunate part is it creates a little bit of a hiccup. I gotta do that just because I'm nosy. 1.8 thousand. So we go 1,800 divided by 24 hours. Whoops. Yeah, we can do that. Divided by 60 seconds. Divided by 60 minutes, 60 seconds. Yeah, that didn't do me any good. Got the math wrong. Not going to worry about it. Really? Oh, LA just goes, it's 30 minutes. Okay. Absolutely there, world. World goes, the good news is there are good people everywhere. The bad news is they aren't the good ones. They aren't the ones running things. You know, and the reality is every society I know of, there's always an exception. You know, you can have the most violent race and have an absolute, an absolute dream of a humanitarian. Okay, they don't necessarily stand out. You know, this world is run by people that are so caught up in the greed factor, in the fear factor. That used to be a bizarre show. You know, that I don't buy into the greed or into the fear. Do I like the finer things in life? You bet your bottom dollar. Of course, my idea of the finer things in life are, are a little lower based than other people. You know, from my standpoint, it boils down to this. I myself, am I a millionaire? Absolutely not. Am I going to eventually be one? You can bet your bottom dollar, given I live long enough, the answer is yes. But not because I want the million. You know, I make $1 million. The odds are I'm only going to have 200,000 of it left. Because I'm not about to buy into this idea of, oh, I got so much money, I'm so much better. Not a snowball's prayer. To think, this is Coke, obviously. You know, I used to drink these when they were half this and half alcohol. Now I don't. I tried that life for a while. Didn't work out that well. World goes, after Canadian taxes, maybe 20 grand left. It's not quite that bad, but it certainly feels that way on occasion. It's stupid the way the tax law is set up. And we're not going to get into that because we all know it's stupid the way it's set up and could be done so much more effectively. It's the same thing I tell people. And this is why eventually, when I've got the finances, I will end up opening up a restaurant. I even know the name I'm going to use. You know, funny thing is, I'm going to use a name for it that is going to throw people for a loop. And the only reason I'm not saying what it is because it is quite a unique name and one that I will eventually open the door to. But it's going to require an income, a much higher one than I've got. I should actually look into that and find out what kind of dollar value I'm looking at. But here's the neat little kicker. When I open the restaurant, it will be self-sustaining before I open the door. LA goes, my mom used to say she wanted to pay $1 million in taxes. I told her she needed a new accountant. Yeah, no doubt. I'm not sure why anybody would desire to pay $1 million in taxes, in all fairness. I mean, do not get me wrong. I am a firm believer that taxes are a good thing. And here's why, before you jump on that. Now, understand, the ratios are stupid. Okay? The people that aren't making enough to live on are not the ones that should be paying taxes, in my eyes. But if you enjoy, indoor plumbing, you enjoy electricity, you enjoy being able to get on the computer or on the phone, there are things that are globally, that are community-wise affected. Yeah, $1 million in taxes would represent $1 million. But, that's just my way of looking at it. World goes, one of my friends is working at a restaurant in the middle of nowhere here in Montana that has a Japanese kaiju theme. The last thing tourists in Montana expect is a Godzilla themed diner. Yeah, no doubt. No doubt there at all. But if you desire something to stand out, make it stand out. But make it stand out in, like your friend there, World, that's got the that has that restaurant. He picked a theme that in the middle of nowhere, it's going to get people's attention. Because just about anybody, no matter what type of movie you watch, just about anybody knows who Godzilla is. It's kind of like that other place I knew. Okay, that other restaurant I know of down. I think it's in the southwestern state or southeastern states. Right. There's a neat little cafe called the Roadkill Cafe. Everybody and their dog knows what roadkill is. Yeah, they probably, the funny thing is, World, they probably draw a lot of people from a long way away just for the experience. I was out in Toronto in Canada here, in Ontario, and I went to a restaurant that I kid you not, they call it the Canoe, but it sits at the top of the CN Tower. Now, I went there. I would strongly recommend it to anybody that's looking for a 5-star restaurant. I would never set foot in there again without somebody that hasn't been. But here's why. You go up there, it is absolutely spot on, the best service I've ever had. The elk that I had in that restaurant almost literally melted in my mouth. You could cut it with a fork. I mean, it was that good. Here's the kicker. Only myself and one other person. I took a friend of mine with me to the restaurant. We only each had one drink. The rest was just the meal. $300 later, okay, our dinner was paid for. This is why, to me, you don't buy a meal for $300, except for as an experience. Okay, was it well worth going? Would I strongly recommend it? If you're ever in Toronto, would I recommend going there? Absolutely, I would. Okay, but I won't go back unless I'm taking somebody that's never been. I certainly won't be taking my other half with me, even if we get out that way. Okay, because for her, it would make no sense to take her. It's a restaurant that the view is incredible. But, problem, she's blind. Not much point. The nice part about it, when we take a look at where you're sitting in society, now I'm looking at this. I've got, let me see here, just because I'm noticing. Let's hit refresh and see what we got. Well, Going to have to find something to deal with that, but that's okay. Now, the reality of life is this. I do believe we set somebody off. If my instincts are right, we just lost a viewer. Okay, and it's quite probable who, but that's okay. Maybe I'm wrong on that. The important thing, the important factor, is we have an opportunity here to make your world better. To find a way to make your mark. Virtually everybody I know looks in the mirror and goes, I desire to leave a mark in this world. Okay, and yet we are swamped. Yeah, ain't it though, that world? World goes, which makes how much money our government wastes even more mind-boggling. Funny part about it is so many people talk about you gotta have a balanced budget. Money is the be-all and end-all. I'm telling you, money is simply a marker for you. Oh, no, I wasn't referring to the numbers that are dropping out of the chat room there, LA. I was actually referring to the number of subscribers. We are down to 598, which it's the wrong way to go, but that's the way things go. I'm looking at this. The people that are listening, if this is helping them, then that's what I'm aiming for. Okay, that's the easy way to look at it. And it boils down to picking what I'm aiming for and going, this is it in spite of what's going on. Absolutely, LA. I get a kick out of it because I do take comments. Somebody made a comment the other day to quit quoting movies. The reality is a lot of the things I hear said are said in the form of a movie script. And the one that comes to mind for me is when who was it? They were talking to Captain America. Peggy's granddaughter was talking to Captain America and turns around and says, look, it is your responsibility, even when the whole world is telling you that what you're thinking or what you're doing is wrong. If you know it's right, stand your ground on it. Well, I know for an absolute certainty that the people on this planet, okay, when we choose to work together, can make this a better world for virtually everybody. There will certainly be those that don't like it. There will certainly be those that will strive to disrupt it because they like the fact of where they're sitting. The ironic part is you treat people poorly, and sooner or later the bomb drops out of the bucket because they will only take it for so long. Take a look back in history. Okay, you look at Egypt. They treated their people poorly. It collapsed. Okay, ancient Rome did the same thing. Modern society is currently repeating the process all over again. And then we go back to that neat little thing of the Black Death. And you'll notice that the plague never asked who was voting for who. It never asked who was making the most money. It just took everybody out. Okay, few of us lived through it, but that's why we're still here. I've never even heard of that, but that wouldn't be a surprise. Good night, Steve. I do appreciate you sharing your time with us. Are we really that far into the bin? Oh, we are. Okay. That being said, I'm glad that somebody brought that to my attention. Sometimes my mouth gets away from me and away we go. So what I do want to say is thank you, and thank you all so much for sharing your time with me today. I really do appreciate it. I will be back again. Won't be back tomorrow. I'll be back on Friday. So on Friday, and I don't know what I'm doing yet. So we get used to that. But thanks so much. And I will see you again on Friday. But until then, do take care of yourselves and each other. And for pity's sakes, stay positive.